AITA for canceling Thanksgiving at my house after my daughter-in-law secretly invited her estranged father and told him to bring his new wife. I'm a 58-year-old woman and host Thanksgiving every year. It's the one big holiday I take pride in. I cook for 3 days, prep everything from scratch, and have about 15 to 20 family members over, my 3 kids, their spouses, grandkids, my sister's family, and a couple close friends. It's my thing. My middle son, James, 32, has been married to his wife, Claire, 31, for almost 3 years. She's generally polite, a little reserved, but we've never had any major problems. She doesn't have much family. She's estranged from her dad and stepmom, and her mother passed away when she was a teen. I know there's history there, but I've never pushed for details. This year, about a week before Thanksgiving, James called and asked if it would be okay if Claire's dad joined us for dinner. I was surprised, but I said I'd think about it and asked for some background. James was vague, just said they'd been talking more and trying to reconnect. I said I'd prefer to keep it just to the usual group this year. It's already a tight fit in our house, and food planning was pretty much finalized. James said he understood. Fast forward to Thanksgiving Day. People start arriving around 2 p.m. I'm in the kitchen, sweating over the turkey, and my sister is helping set up the desserts. Around 3, the doorbell rings and my husband answers it. In walks a man I don't know, a woman clinging to his arm, and Claire behind them, beaming. I walk over, confused, and Claire says, "Mom, this is my dad, Steve, and his wife, Carol. Hope it's okay. They were in town, and I thought it would be a good surprise." I am stunned. The room goes quiet. I look at James, who looks like he wants to be anywhere but here. I say, calmly but firmly, "Claire, I told James the first wasn't comfortable adding guests last minute." She says, "I know, but it just felt right. We're trying to heal, and this is what the holidays are about, right? Family, forgiveness." Now, let me be clear. I don't care if people bring boyfriends, girlfriends, or a cousin from out of town. But I was very clear. And this wasn't just one person. It was 2. And one of them was someone Claire has talked about, in passing, as abusive and cruel during her childhood. I wasn't prepared for this dynamic at my table, and I didn't appreciate being cornered in my own home. I turned to Steve and Carol, apologized politely, and said, "I'm so sorry for the confusion, but we weren't expecting extra guests, and unfortunately, we don't have the space or food. I hope you understand." Claire looked absolutely mortified. Steve just nodded and said, "Well, get out of your hair." They left. The room was tense. Claire burst into tears and ran upstairs. James followed. Dinner was awkward and quiet. A few family members tried to lighten the mood, but honestly, it was soured. The next morning, James called and said I was cruel and completely out of line. He said Claire had worked up the courage to invite her dad after years of therapy and wanted this to be a new beginning, that I had humiliated her in front of him and probably set back their progress. He said I could have just squeezed them in and made it work, but I was too prideful about my perfect holiday. I reminded him that he asked me beforehand, and I said no, that I wasn't told 2 people were coming, and certainly not her dad and his wife. That springing that on me in the moment, with hot ovens going, 18 people mingling, and a tight table setup was unfair. He said I should have made an exception and that I ruined the most important moment of Claire's life. My husband agrees I could have handled it with more grace, but also says they blindsided me and put me in a no-win situation. My oldest daughter is completely on my side. My younger son thinks I overreacted, but understands why I did it. Now Claire isn't speaking to me. James is cold and said they might not come for Christmas. I feel awful. I truly didn't want to humiliate anyone, especially not a woman who clearly has a complicated past with her father. But I also feel like I was ambushed. AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for reporting my brother to CPS after what I saw at his house. I, 34F, have one brother, Mark, 36M, and we were never especially close growing up. He was the golden child to our parents, and I was the one always too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much. Whatever. I went no contact with our mom and dad when I was 24, but Mark stayed close. We talked maybe once or twice a year. No real drama, just very different lives. Mark married a woman named Lauren about 7 years ago. They have 3 kids, Ava, 6, Lucas, 4, and a baby, Mia, 9 months. I had only met Ava and Lucas once at a family wedding. We live in different states, and again, not very close. But last month, Mark called me out of the blue and asked if I could help them out for a week. Lauren's mom had been hospitalized, and Lauren needed to go stay with her. Mark had just started a new job and couldn't take time off, and they didn't have any childcare lined up. He asked if I could come stay with them and watch the kids. At first, I was shocked he even asked, but I work remotely, live alone, and it seemed like a chance to reconnect and be helpful. I said yes. When I arrived at their house, the first thing that struck me was how chaotic everything was. That's not even the issue. 3 kids under 7 is going to be chaos, but it wasn't just messy. It was borderline unsafe. There were piles of laundry and dirty dishes everywhere, outlets without covers, choking hazards all over the floor, and the baby was crawling around among it all. There was a weird smell in the house I couldn't place. And Mark just looked exhausted. He gave me a 5-minute rundown and left to catch his flight for a work thing. Lauren had already flown out the night before. By the second day, I started noticing really concerning things. Lucas had bruises on his upper arms, not the kind you get from bumping into furniture. They looked like fingerprints. Ava was incredibly anxious and would flinch when I raised my voice slightly, even just calling her for dinner. I found a baby bottle with what looked like curdled milk in the crib. When I tried to change Mia's diaper, she screamed and stiffened in a way that felt deeply unnatural. Her skin was red and irritated, like it hadn't been changed frequently. I'm not a mom, but I know this isn't normal. I cleaned the house as best I could, made meals, got the kids into a routine. I tried asking Ava a few gentle questions. She finally told me, whispering that sometimes Daddy gets mad and pushes Lucas, and that Mommy says if we're quiet, everything will be okay. That was it, but it broke me. I didn't sleep that night. I called a friend of mine who's a social worker, and she told me to document everything. Photos, notes, timestamps. So I did. I took pictures of the bruises, the baby's rash, the state of the house, and I wrote down things the kids said. After 5 days, Mark came back. I didn't say anything to him, just acted like everything was fine. The next day, I called Child Protective Services and reported what I saw. About a week later, Mark called me absolutely enraged. CPS had shown up at their house, interviewed the kids, and apparently, Ava had told them more. The kids were temporarily removed and placed with Lauren's sister. Mark said I had destroyed his family, that the stress made Lauren have a panic attack, and now she might lose custody. He accused me of betrayal and claimed the bruises were from daycare, that the house was messy because of the baby, and that Mia had a diaper rash from teething. I told him none of that explains Ava's behavior, the smell of mildew in the crib, or the things his kids said. He called me a bitter, childless bitch and hung up on me. Now my parents are involved. They somehow found out, and they're furious with me too. They're saying I've always been jealous of Mark, and that this was a vendetta, that I'm punishing him for being the favorite, that I saw what I wanted to see because I've never liked Lauren. None of that is true, by the way. Lauren's sister, the one with temporary custody, actually reached out to thank me. She said she'd suspected something was off but could never get Lauren to open up about it, and that maybe now the kids will get the help they need. But even with her support, I feel horrible. I didn't want this. I didn't want to be the person who blows up someone's life. I keep second-guessing myself. What if I misunderstood? What if I made it worse? What if CPS overreacted? But then I remember how Ava looked at me like I was her lifeline, or how Lucas wouldn't let go of my hand when he slept, or how Mia stopped crying when I held her like she just needed someone there. Still, everyone in my family says I overstepped and made a CPS case where there shouldn't have been one. They said I should have confronted Mark first or waited to talk to Lauren. That calling authorities without warning was malicious. That families have messy houses and stressed out kids, and it doesn't mean they're abusive. So here I am, stuck between believing I did the right thing and wondering if I destroyed a family that was just struggling. AITA? AITA for telling my sister she can't name her baby after our dead brother. This has been eating me up for days, and the family is now completely divided over it. For background, I, 28F, have a younger sister, Leah, 26F, and we had an older brother, Ryan, who passed away 8 years ago in a drunk driving accident. He wasn't the one driving. He was a passenger, and the driver survived, which made it even harder. Ryan was 23 when he died. He was our big brother, our protector, the glue of our family in many ways. His death hit all of us differently, but it absolutely shattered our parents and devastated me. Leah and Ryan were close, but their relationship was different. Ryan and I were 2 years apart and were super tight growing up. He used to walk me to school, taught me to drive, helped me with college apps. Leah, being the youngest by a few years, was kind of babied, and she and Ryan were close, but she was always more coddled. He looked out for her, but treated her more like a kid sister he had to protect, whereas he and I were more equals, especially as we got older. Fast forward to now. Leah is pregnant with her first child. She's due in December and just announced the gender a week ago. It's a boy. At the gender reveal, yes, one of those, she got really emotional and announced they picked a name, Ryan. I froze. My parents cried. Her husband smiled. Everyone clapped and cheered and said how beautiful it was. I didn't say anything in the moment. I just kind of shut down. I left early and texted Leah the next day asking if we could talk. When we met up, I told her that I felt really uncomfortable with her naming the baby Ryan. She looked completely shocked and asked why. I explained that I just wasn't okay with it. That Ryan was the name of our brother who died tragically young, and it felt like it was being reused in a way that felt weird and unsettling to me. I told her I didn't want to go to family dinners and hear people calling the baby Ryan like he replaced the one we lost. She got defensive and said she wasn't replacing anyone. She was honoring him. I said I get that, but it doesn't feel like honoring to me. It feels like reopening a wound that hasn't healed, and worse, assigning the name of someone we all still mourn to a completely new person who can't possibly live up to the memory. She accused me of making her baby about my grief. I told her maybe I am, but it's not just mine. It's all of ours. And Ryan was my brother too. She snapped and said she loved him just as much as I did, and it's not up to me to gatekeep his memory. She also said I was being selfish by making her baby's name about my own unresolved issues. I left the conversation frustrated and honestly heartbroken. Now my mom has called to tell me she's disappointed in me. She said Leah is just trying to keep Ryan's memory alive and that I should be proud, not bitter. My dad is staying out of it, but my aunt texted me to say she agrees with me and thinks it's creepy to reuse a dead sibling's name like that. My fiancé says he understands both sides, but also thinks I should probably just let it go for the sake of family peace. But I can't stop thinking about it. It feels like Leah took something sacred and turned it into a baby name for vibes. I know she misses him. I know we all do. But the idea of calling a toddler Ryan and having birthday parties for Ryan, while our Ryan's grave is 20 miles away, just makes me feel physically ill. She says I'm being dramatic. Maybe I am. But grief is weird and personal. I never got over losing my brother. I never will. And I can't pretend like this doesn't make it worse. So, AITA for telling my sister she can't name her baby Ryan?